If you've got your popcorn ready for transfer deadline day, you can probably crack it open right now because we have a bombshell mega transfer story in the EFL Championship breaking tonight with Norwich City set to sell one of their key assets and probably best players to none other than arch rivals Ipswich Town. Who would have thunk it? John Percy of The Telegraph breaking it at 8:30 tonight. Ipswich are signing Norwich midfielder Marcelino Nunez in a deal worth £10 million, including 2.5 million in achievable bonuses. What are achievable bonuses? Is it Nunez has to help Ipswich beat Norwich? Because that hasn't been very achievable in the last 15 years or whatever it is. Or does he have to help Ipswich win promotion? Is that an achievable bonus? I don't know. We'll find out in the wash. Percy continues. Nunez has pushed for the move after rejecting at least 2 contract offers. Free agent next summer. Norwich to sign Silkeborg's Pele Matson for 2.7 million, presumably to replace him. And Connor Southall, friend of mine, over at the EDP, whatever the paper's called in Norwich, I can't quite remember, saying this is the only bid that Norwich have had for Nunez this summer, and he is going to cross the divide and make the move, a very, very rare move from Norwich to Ipswich. I mean, straight away, we'll talk about the player, we'll talk about the clubs, we'll talk about the deal. But get down there in the comments, whoever you support. I've backed Norwich and Ipswich to both finish in the top 6 in the Championship this season. They've both not started very well, but essentially they are rivals in the division, I would say. We'll see how it comes out. I might be wrong about that. One might finish higher than the other, but they are massive local rivals. And whether that matters to 2 sets of American ownerships, but look, there's plenty of layers further down in the club that know the lay of the land here. It really is going to matter to the fan bases. Let me know your takes. Has the team you supported sold or signed a player, a key player as well, from a rival club and the big rival? And I know people who don't necessarily understand football over in East Anglia don't particularly understand this rival, but do not patronise the rivalry between Ipswich and Norwich. It is huge to both the fan bases and football in East Anglia as a whole. And wind your mind back to the last game between Ipswich and Norwich. Was at Carrow Road during Ipswich's glorious run to promotion, a double promotion. But as has been the case, Norwich beat Ipswich. Who scored the winning goal? Answers on a postcard down below. I think you all know. What an absolutely fascinating deal. As I say, get down there in the comments and give me your thoughts. I'll give you mine right now. When the season ended last time out with Norwich, we kind of looked at the situation there with their squad and identified sort of 3 players who you were kind of thinking, right, Norwich are probably going to have to sell 1 or 2 of Borja Sainz, who's gone to Porto, Marcelino Nunez, who we're talking about now, and Josh Sargent. 3 really good players at Norwich. Sainz was the first to go. Excellent bit of business by Norwich because he didn't even cost a transfer fee. So absolute mega profit and turnover and flipping of a player there. I honestly thought the hottest target at Norwich would be Josh Sargent, who's just a goal machine at Championship level. So maybe that's part of the conversation here. If you're a Norwich fan and you have the choice here, you get to keep Josh Sargent maybe, who's probably going to score 20, 25 or more goals this season. He's scored in every game he's played already, looks absolutely at it. But you have to sell Nunez, and not only you got to sell him, you got to sell him to Ipswich Town. Would you have taken that deal? Does this leave Norwich light? in that particular area of the pitch? I don't know. It's been a massively busy summer at Norwich. Basically, it's a complete new team they're going to be going with now, albeit they might be able to keep the star player, Josh Sargent, in there. Maybe Nunez and Sainz not far behind him in terms of star power. But I think they've brought 11 players in Norwich. And of course, they've got a new manager in Liam Manning, and they're trying to now mould all of that together. They are going to be doing that without Marcelino Nunez. I believe he's in the final year of his contract, so it does seem to be a pretty high transfer fee. It's good money for Norwich, but of course the focus is going to be on who the player is leaving for, and will that do damage between the Norwich fan base and Ben Napper, who's the sporting director or whatever job title, chief of football these guys have, in terms of the guys who are doing all the transfer work above manager Liam Manning. I mean, look, I've had a look on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, Twitter is not necessarily real life, but yeah, as you can imagine, a lot of Norwich fans very disappointed that a star player is going to a rival in the division and the arch rival in terms of, you know, the history there of the clubs and of East Anglian football. Ipswich really need someone like Marcelino Nunez. He's coming injured, by the way, so we won't see him likely in an Ipswich shirt. Such a strange transfer deal, this one. Before, you know, this side of the international break, Ipswich played Derby. They're on TV against Sheffield United on the Friday night. We get back after the international break. I wonder whether you'll see a player either paraded or making his debut there. But obviously, the double promotion team is being broken up left and right, and central midfield had been a big area where work needed to be done. Obviously, Sam Morsey, the captain, fantastic, and Massimo Luongo both leaving this summer, leaving a gaping hole there in central midfield where the work last year didn't quite work with Calvin Phillips in those positions, and Jens Kajust, who has now been signed again on loan by Ipswich, so he returns into those positions. Azor Matasiwa is there as well, expensive signing from French football. Jack Taylor had started the first couple of games, but we're expecting that to change, and now added into that position, we think, Marcelino Nunez, who offers something a little bit different than any player, well, probably any player Ipswich have had for a long time, in terms of, you know, being able to do a bit of everything really in that central midfield and make the play, and a bit of flair and lots of progressive passing. Exactly the player Ipswich need to go with, Kajust or Matasiwa there in central midfield. So it's a player Ipswich need, but man, did I expect them to be going up the road to Norwich City? And did I expect Norwich City to be accepting an offer for Nunez? And I'm sure the message will be that the player has pushed for the move and they've got good money. And I'm sure the higher-ups at Norwich will speak about it and we'll hear all about this. But yeah, this one is going to rumble and rumble. And if you ever needed more spice in those East Anglian derby games, you've now got a player moving from one club to the other who, as I mentioned at the top of the video, literally scored the winning goal in the last occasion. So very, very, very spicy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I've got a laugh. I went out for dinner with the missus, belated. It was my birthday on Saturday. She took me out for dinner tonight. And when we do that, I don't take my phone with me. So I left my phone at home, got back, switched it on. Oh, why have I got so many messages? So I'm talking about this here tonight. It's 11:40 on the Wednesday night. We'll get this out, obviously, tomorrow morning on the channel, and you can get all your thoughts in. I will no doubt speak to some of my Norwich City friends as well tomorrow, so I'll kind of try and plug that now ahead of time. I'm sure I'll be making some kind of appearances tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Wow. Championship transfer bombshell. Get there in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, particularly if you're an Ipswich or Norwich fan, and just generally, how would you feel about rival clubs and star players moving in between the two? Right. It's going to be a fun one in the comments, this one, so let it burn down there. We'll link some stuff up there. Let's put the Championship Check-In podcast with Sam Parkin up there and the latest Championship predictions as well for the weekend. But let's not bury the lead here. Get your thoughts in. Marcelino Nunez moving for big money between arch rivals Norwich and Ipswich.